Good morning, welcome to Little by Little, a short time in God's Word. It's Monday, and so we take Mondays to go over the message that was at Calvary Chapel, Port Angeles. You can find that message at calvarypa.org, latest message. Find all our messages there under messages, or you can go on YouTube and search for Calvary Chapel, Port Angeles and find Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday messages, as well as these devotionals each day. So, Esther chapter 4, we're going to read through the chapter and make just a few quick comments and give hopefully some things for us to continue to think about from Esther chapter 4. When Mordecai learned all that had been done, Mordecai tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes and went out into the midst of the city. And he cried out with a loud and bitter cry. He went up to the entrance of the king's gate, for no one was allowed to enter the king's gate clothed in sackcloth. And in every province, wherever the king's command and his decree reached, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting and weeping and lamenting, and many of them lay in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's young woman and her eunuchs came and told her the queen was deeply distressed, she sent garments to clothe Mordecai so that he might take off his sackcloth, but he would not accept them. Then Esther called for Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs who had been appointed to attend her, and ordered him to go to Mordecai to learn what this was and why it was. Hathach went out to Mordecai in the open square of the city in front of the king's gate, and Mordecai told him all that had happened to him and the exact sum of money that Haman had promised to pay into the king's treasuries for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai also gave him a copy of the written decree issued in Susa for their destruction, that he might show it to Esther and explain to her and command her to go to the king to beg his favor and plead with him on behalf of her people. And Hathach went and told Esther what Mordecai had said. Then Esther spoke to Hathach and commanded him to go to Mordecai and say, all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that if any man or woman goes to the king inside the inner court without being called, there is but one law, to be put to death, except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter so that he may live. But as for me, I have not been called to come into the king these 30 days. And they told Mordecai what Esther had said. Then Mordecai told them to reply to Esther, do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you'll escape any more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, go, gather all the Jews to be found in Susa, and hold a fast on my behalf, and do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I am a young woman, will also fast as you do. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. Mordecai then went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him. So we talked about greatness in this chapter, and how sometimes we have the idea that greatness is for those who do great things, and they're so unbelievably radical, they're so unattainable for regular people. Those are special heroes of the faith. And well, that's true. There are moments in time and places where God's men and women throughout history do amazing things. That's not the only definition of greatness. That's not the only place that it could occur. It can happen in your life today or tomorrow, right? Whenever you just are faithfully administering the role, the place, the purpose that God has for you, you're great in God's kingdom. And those little things that maybe no one else is noticing, God notices. God's watching. And He's also taking track. And so maybe it's small things today, but next week it's a little bigger. Maybe 6 months from now, 3 years from now, there's a big thing, but you've prepared for it because you've been faithful in the little things to do the job that was before you. And as you do that job, you'll be ready for the next one. What's interesting with Esther here, there's a bit of a reluctance on her part at first. In fact, she says, no, that's a bad idea. To go to the king means death if you haven't been called. And we talked about how Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in Daniel chapter 3 told the king, hey, look, we don't need to pray about it, we don't need to think about it, we're not going to bow down to your idol, and our God's going to take care of us, and if He doesn't, not a problem, we're still not bowing down to your idol. They didn't have to question, they didn't have to think, they were ready, they were all in. That's where Esther gets to. And she understands what Paul talked about in the book of Acts, and this idea in Philippians about humbling ourselves like Christ, and Jesus taking up your cross and following me, and Romans 12:1 being a living sacrifice. All these things to say You're ready to walk forward, listening and responding. It's not just knowing about the right thing, it's being prompted in that right thing to do the right thing. And eventually Esther, of course, is going to do that. But it started here with a little bit of a back and forth with her trying to figure out, trying to see what exactly is going to happen. So we don't know what tomorrow brings. Greatness could be right around the corner for you. Are you willing to walk in it as you walk with Jesus? Till next time, on Middle by the